Good evening, everybody. I am here to do a reading progress video for the 2-week period starting on January 25th and ending February 6th. The first 3 books I'm going to be talking about today are books that I am rereading. The first book is called The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I received this as a gift from a person who I was friends with a couple of years ago for my birthday, and that was the last time I read it when I received it for a gift in 2024. So this book, I will tell you what it's about actually. Twins, inseparable as children, ultimately choose to live 2 very different worlds, one black and one white. The Vignes sisters will always be identical, but after growing up together in a small southern black community and running away at age 16, it's not just the shape of their daily lives that is different as adults. If everything that their families, their communities, their racial identities. Many years later, one sister lives with her black daughter in the same southern town. She once tried to escape. The other secretly passes for white, and her husband knows nothing of her past. Still, although separated by so many miles and so many lies, the fates of the twins remain intertwined. What will happen to the next generation when their own daughter's stories lines intersect? Weaving together multiple strands and generations, The Vanishing Half is at once a riveting fairy tale, a riveting family story, and a brilliant exploration of the American history of passing. Looking well beyond issues of race, it considers the lasting influence of the past as it shapes a person's decision, fairness, and decisions, desires, and expectations. In my reread, I am currently on chapter 4, page 91. The next book is a book I am borrowing. The next book I am rereading, I am borrowing from Kathleen. It is Hidden Figures by Margot Lee Shutterly. This is my second time reading this book. I read it last year for Black History Month. I have also seen the movie starring Viola Davis a couple of times. And as you can see, this is the cover from the film. And in my reread, I am on chapter 14, page 137. Oops. Wait, is that it? Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, the next book that I am rereading is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This is set during World War II, and it focuses on 2 sisters named Isabel and Vianne. With courage, grace, and powerful insight, best-selling author Kristen Hanna captures the epic panorama of World War II and illuminates an intimate part of history seldom seen, the Women's War. The Nightingale tells the stories of 2 sisters separated by years and experience, by ideals, passion, and circumstance, each embarking on their own dangerous path towards survival, love, and freedom in German-occupied, war-torn France. a heartbreakingly beautiful novel that celebrates the resilience of the human spirit and the durability of women. It is a novel for everyone, a novel for a lifetime. And likewise, another book that is set during World War II that I am reading right now is another book I borrowed from Kathleen called The Flight Girls. This focuses on these female friendship between 3 World War II fighter pilots. This is a new book to me by a new author, Noelle Zalazar. In my reread of The Nightingale, I am currently on Chapter 11, page 138, and in The Flight Girls, I am on Chapter 14, page 147. The next book I am reading is a new release that came out at the end of last year. For those of you who remember reading Holes, this or the Sideways Stories from Wayside School series as kids, this is the adult debut of that same author, Louis Sachar, and it's called The Magician of Tiger Castle. This is a fairy tale reimagining, and so far I am really enjoying it. I got this out of the library at the beginning of this week, and I am on page 202. The next book I am reading, I heard about from, where am I starting? I heard about from Carly at the Pastel Bookshelf. It is called The Puppet Show, which is a book by M.W. Craven. A serial killer is burning people alive in the Lake District's prehistoric stone circles. He leaves no clues, and the police are helpless. When his name is found carved into the chart remains of the third victim. Disgraced detective Washington Poe is brought back from suspension and into an investigation he wants no part of. Reluctantly partnered with the brilliant but socially awkward civilian analyst Tilly Bradshaw, the mismatched pair uncover a trail that Poe is meant to see. The elusive killer has a plan for some reason, and Poe is part of it. I'm very excited to start this mystery series that Carly recommended to me. And the crime scene analyst in this book is neurodivergent, which I'm very excited about. The next book was recommended to me by Michaela at What Michaela Reads, which is, she's friends with Carly, so I found her channel through Carly. So this is called Beth is Dead by Katie Burnett. It's by another new to me author, and this is basically Beth's death in Little Women reimagined as a murder mystery. I have not been able to put this book down in order to move on to the next book ever since I started reading it. I started this book on Tuesday, and I am on chapter 25, page 220. 222. I will read you what this is about. When Beth March is found dead, her sisters vow to uncover her murderer until they begin to suspect one another. Jo, an aspiring author with a huge social media following, would do anything to hook readers. Did she kill her sister for the story? Amy is desperate to study art in Europe, but she needs money from her aunt, money that's always been earmarked for Beth. Meg wouldn't dream of hurting her sister, but her boyfriend might have done it, and she'll protect him at all costs. And the March sisters aren't the only ones with the story to tell. There's Theodore Lawrence, the neighbor who had feelings for not one but two sisters, Meg the manipulative best friend, Amy's flirtatious mentor, and Beth's lion-hearted first love. But the suspect's fools stretch as far aside family and friends. Months ago, the Marchesters were dragged into the spotlight when their father published a controversial bestseller about his own daughters. So anybody could have wanted Beth dead. I am very, very excited to find out who the killer is. This has kept me on the edge of my seat for days. The next book that I am currently reading is An Archive of Romance by Ava Reed. This is the novella in the series of A Study in Drowning. I have read this whole series, which is basically just 2 books. This is the novella that goes in between A Study in Drowning and A Theory of Dreaming. A Study of Drowning was 4.5 stars, and A Theory of Dreaming was 3.5. And this is probably going to be 4 stars. When a fairy... I hate it when things are covered up. To invade the mundane and a professor aspired to harness the supernatural for power. One love story canonizes itself off the page. Experience Effie and Preston's tale as never before in this immersive collection of mementos, illustrations, maps, blueprints, diary entries, and ephemera from the world of A Study in Drowning and A Theory of Dreaming. Relive the romance and embark on your own dark academia journey through expanded passages from Gerhard, essays from prominent Illyrian scholars, and poems are presented the never before seen epilogue to Effie and Preston's love story. You are cordially invited to join Effie and Preston as they start an exciting new chapter together. In An Archive of Romance, I am on page 141. The next book I'm reading was recommended to me by, I believe, actually, both Carrie Can Read and Books and Lala have read this. This is called Kill the Beast by Sarah Swift, and it is a modernized retelling of Beauty and the Beast. The night Lissa Cagdona's brother was murdered by a fairy-made monster known as the Beast, she made him a promise. She would find a way to destroy the immortal creature and arrange his death. For 13 years, she has been hunting fairies and the abominations they created. But in all that time, the one beast she is most desperate to find has never resurfaced. Until she meets Alderic Casimir de Laurent, a melodramatic dandy with a coin purse bigger than his brain. Somehow he has found a monster's lair and, even more surprising, retrieved one of its claws. A claw Lissa needs in order to forge a sword that can kill the beast. Alderic is ill-equipped for a hunt and almost guaranteed to get himself killed. But as the two of them search for the rest of the materials that will be the beast's undoing, Alderic reveals hidden dark secrets that he guards as carefully as Lissa guards hers. Before long, against Lissa's better judgment, friendship begins to bloom, and either leads to the culmination of Lissa's quest for vengeance or spell doom for the lovers. I am on chapter 8, page 82. The next reread I am currently in the middle of is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik, which I first read in 2024. So it's been about 2 years since I first read this book. And I am on page 203, chapter 13 in my reread. The next book I'm reading is The Bookshop Sisterhood by Michelle Lindo Rice. This is a new author to me, and I am reading this book for Black History Month. When life rewrites the story, only friendship will see them through. After years of hard work, 4 best friends, Celeste, Yasmin, Tony, and Leslie, are finally on the verge of opening the bookstore of their dreams. A place where the community can find solace with an intriguing new read, a comforting beverage, and book-loving friends. But before they can cut the living, their worlds are upended. Tony receives devastating news just months before her wedding, while Celeste's struggling marriage threatens to collapse completely. Leslie learns a shocking secret about her family and allows it to change Yasmin's life, but not for the better. As the bookstore's grand opening fast approaches, the 4 women lean on each other now more than ever to navigate their grief and uncertainty. And together, they learn that sometimes even life's most unexpected plot twist can lead to beautiful new beginnings. I am currently on chapter 7, page 63. Now I'm going to get into books that I recently completed. The first book that I want to talk about is Lulu's Cafe by T.I. Lowe. I like to refer to this book as Stars Hollow, but set in South Carolina. That's the vibe this small town gives off. I really like the development of their relationship between Leah and Crowley, who are the characters who are like Lorelai and Luke in this book. In this book, we meet Leah, who is moving to this small town in South Carolina near the beach to flee from her abusive marriage, and the town is called Riverton. Leah is hired to work in a cafe that is similar to Luke's diner, which is called Lulu's Cafe, and she also lives in the apartment above the coffee shop. She meets Crowley Mason, who is the lawyer of Lulu's. As I was just saying, I really enjoyed the setting of this book and the build-up between Leah and Crowley's relationship. They are very much the same as Luke and Lorelai. And, let's see. Donuts. Donuts make everything better. Leah turns to food for comfort and Jessup turns to alcohol. Leah was judged for her weight gain, but she herself turns around and judges Jessup. In what ways is this a common practice in our society? Why is that? So, when I was reading a section related to the weight gain of Leah, it reminded me of the fat shaming of Monica in the flashback episodes of Friends, or the episode where they're watching the video from Monica and Rachel's prom. And I really don't like fat shaming because it's bullying. The author paints vivid pictures throughout the book with her descriptive narratives. What was your favorite descriptive scene? Why? Personally, I think my favorite scenes was when they were in the kitchen cooking meals at the cafe, because it makes me think of all of the food that they serve in Luke's diner on Gilmore Girls and all of the recipes that we have been making from our Gilmore Girls cookbook. This book was a gift for Christmas from my friend Chandler from New Hampshire. So thank you, Chandler, for the present. I gave this book 5 stars. The next book I am going to mention in this video and review separately in a video that's coming out on Wednesday for Jennifer Aniston's birthday is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The Nightingale and The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo are on my Rachel Green TBR to celebrate Jennifer Aniston's birthday. This book was on a list I found on Instagram for books that describe Rachel Green, and it said in the list that she would buddy read this with Monica. So I would be really curious to know, not that I would ever get this answer, but I would be curious to know if Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox have read this book too. The next and then this is a historical fiction by Taylor Jenkins Reid that is set in the 1950s, and it focuses on an actress named Evelyn Hugo who is being interviewed by a person who is writing her tell-all memoir, and she goes into the stories of her relationships and each of her 7 husbands. This book describes Rachel specifically because of the fashion and the scenes when they're at the award shows, and also the connection I drew to a specific episode is season 7, episode 23, where Rachel is helping Chandler pick out his tuxedo for the wedding, and Chandler is mad because he wanted to get Batman's tux, like Val Kilmer's tux from Batman, but he doesn't. Instead, he gets Pierce Brosnan tux from the James Bond movies. So I'm going to be reviewing this book in a lot more detail on Wednesday. So stay tuned for that video for Jennifer Aniston's birthday. It should be out at like 10 a.m. The next book that I finished reading recently was Heartward by Amity Gage. This was a Read with Jenna pick from last year. I heard about it from Gabby Reeds. She read it. I think it was a pick for the Goodreads Choice Awards, either that or she read it in November. And this is about a woman named Valerie who vanishes while she's hiking the Appalachian Trail in Maine. This is the 4th or 5th book I've read about people who go hiking. I have read this book. I have read Wild by Cheryl Strayed. I have read A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. And then I also read Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert last year for the Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR. And the thing I like the best about this book is all of the scenery of the different places you see along the hiking trail. So, as I was just saying, this book is about Valerie who goes missing, and basically she is writing letters home to her family about going hiking on the trail and how she's lost. In the heart of the Maine woods, 42-year-old Valerie Giles has vanished along the Appalachian Trail 200 miles from her destination. Alone in the wilderness, Valerie pours her thoughts into fractured, poetic letters to her mother as she battles the elements and struggles to keep hope alive. At the center of the investigation into Valerie's disappearance is Beverly, the determined Maine State game warden heading the search underground. Meanwhile, Lana, a 76-year-old bird watcher in a Connecticut retirement community, becomes an unexpected armchair detective. As the story alternates among 3 compelling and vivid voices, a puzzle emerges, intensifying the frantic search. As it appears, Valerie's disappearance may not have been accidental. Heartwood is not only the story of a lost hiker's odyssey, but also a powerful ode to mothers and daughters and the solace of nature. A redemptive novel for our times, Heartwood inspires larger questions about the many ways in which we become lost and how we are found. I loved the mystery of this book and how it makes me think of all of the true crime videos I have been watching on Crime Weekly about people who disappear and some who get found, some who are found, and some who end up being found dead. I just love true crime is a new interest of mine. I was never really into it, but it distracts me from my obsession with Matthew Perry, though I do admit some of these cases do give me nightmares sometimes. But I really loved the atmosphere of this book and how, like, you're kept on the edge of your seat knowing whether or not she's gonna be found alive. I gave this book 4.5 stars. The final book I read was recommended to me by the Plant-Based Bride, and she did a video where she talked about books that talked about grief. I connected to this book because my great aunt passed away at the end of July in 2025, and I connected with her very deeply because we both liked to read. So this book is about a girl who is dealing with the death of her grandfather, and he gives her a reading list, and they connect over the books that are on a reading list. The books that are mentioned in this book are To Kill a Mockingbird, Rebecca, The Kite Runner, Life of Pi, Pride and Prejudice, Little Women, Beloved, and A Suitable Boy. I have read most of these books, but I have never heard of A Suitable Boy, so if you have read that, let me know what you think. But I can tell you that To Kill a Mockingbird was a 4.5 star read. Rebecca was 4 stars. The Kite Runner was 5. I did not read Life of Pi this year, but I have it in the past. I'm probably going to reread it again once I finish the Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR. Pride and Prejudice was 5 stars. Little Women was 3.5 stars. And Beloved was 4 stars. So this book was 5 stars because obviously, as I just said, I really connected to the character because she bonds with her relative over books. And this author, Sarah Nisha Adams, is new to me this year. So I'm looking forward to reading more of her books and discovering what else she writes books about. So I would like to thank the Plant-Based Bride for recommending this book to me. I will link her video that she talks about this book in, and also Carly and Michaela's videos where The Puppet Show and Beth is Dead, and also if I can find a video where Kill the Beast is mentioned, I'll link that video in the description too. Also in the description, you can find a link to my blog for the Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR, so you can catch up with all of the books that are being reviewed on the podcast that me and Kathleen are doing. And also, please subscribe to my Substack, in which I will be reviewing books such as this one, which are not on the Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR. I hope you guys have a good week. I will be back on Wednesday with the special feature video for books that describe Rachel Green for Jennifer Aniston's birthday. And then my next reading progress update video will be out on probably the 20th or the 22nd. Have a good weekend.